Hello, welcome to Standard Sports Ashes coverage. Day two is in the can. Australia 343 for 7 at stumps, a lead of almost 200 over England, who of course collapsed abysmally on the first day for less than 150. I'm joined as always by Will McPherson in Australia. It was a slightly better start to the morning for England, who bowled pretty well up front, but ultimately they get to the close of play in a pretty similar position to yesterday, really feeling quite bleak about things.
Yeah, it was a tough day for England. They made mistakes today. They also have their frontline bowlers bowl really quite nicely without any luck. Conditions haven't necessarily been kind to them, but it's hard to have too much sympathy when they were the ones who got to choose when to bat and bowl at the toss. And in the final hour, their lack of preparation really showed. Ollie Robinson looked really sore, having bowled absolutely beautifully all day. And Ben Stokes essentially looks like he's injured. It's a knee issue. He's being assessed. We're just going to have to wait and see on that. But it's hard to see him bowling too much for the rest of the game.
Chances went down, chances fell short. I think the one that England will look back on the most ruefully, though, will be that no ball that Ben Stokes bowled to David Warner. Would have in Stokes' first over of the day. Obviously, Warner went on to fall just shy of his century. There's been a bit of controversy around it. Looks like the first 4 balls that Stokes bowled were no balls, weren't called by the on-field umpire. Will, just give us your thoughts on that whole situation.
Yeah, it's a strange one. It's a kind of issue we thought we'd moved on from in cricket. We've had a new system for a couple of years where the third umpire's had access to technology where he calls all the no balls, so that the standing umpire doesn't have to worry about it, because that's quite hard to look at the line and then look at the batsman. That is not in play in this game. We didn't know this until after this happened, but the technology failed or isn't working. So the umpire was trying to call it. He didn't. So Stokes bowled 40. He bowled 5 overs in the morning session, 14 no balls out of the 30 deliveries in those. Only 1 was called on the field. Another was only discovered after he got the wicket of Warner, who's obviously a massive player. He was on 17 at the time. He ended with 94. That's just a huge miss for England.
And Stokes never far from the action. He was everywhere again today, including when those injury issues came kind of and hit home late in the evening session. I suppose the frustration for England is that was always a danger with bowlers on both sides coming into this series undercooked. But because of the way England collapsed yesterday, the Australian bowlers didn't get to that point. They were feet up in the dressing room by the equivalent stage of what would have been England's first innings.
Yeah, England were denied their warm-up cricket by rain in Brisbane, which saw them just walking around the city to try and get miles in their legs, as they said, which is obviously clearly not good enough. The bowlers look really tired today. There was another problem in that Australia put in a really sort of calculated assault on Jack Leach's spin, which meant that they didn't have someone who could just tie up an end. So they had to keep going back to Robinson, Woakes and Wood, all of whom bowled pretty well. And Stokes wasn't up to it either. He injured himself fielding and looks in a bit of strife.
I suppose we should quickly mention Travis Head's century, when, regardless of those problems England had earlier in the day, when you get Warner, Labuschagne, Smith all back in the hutch at 190 odd for 5, I think it was, you hope you can kind of rattle through the rest and give yourself a chance in the game. It wasn't the most kind of aesthetically pleasing century you'll ever see, but it's a really, really important one that's probably taken any chance of saving this game away from England.
Yeah, they need a lot of rain now. But Head chanced his arm. He came in during a collapse of 4 for 29 either side of tee, and England got their tail up again. Robinson was bowling really well. They got Smith out cheaply, which is so rare. But Head just took the game away from them that final hour and a half.
Well, you can read more of Will's thoughts and analysis over on Standard Sport, and we'll be back again same time tomorrow to review Day 3's action.